Okay, everybody. A little loud because we're outside the aircraft right now. I'm just showing you that I did change aircraft, and I've got, instead of the all white one, I got the red and white one. More vintage colors there. And as you can see, there's a helicopter hovering over there, getting ready to set down. As soon as he sits down, we're going to climb in the plane. And again, last time we did this cross-country flight, I did it in VR. This time I'm not doing it in VR. But we landed in Topeka, Kansas, and we're going to head on further west to Manhattan, Kansas. So let me get back in the cockpit here. And for those of you who couldn't hear me because it was so loud outside, we're going from Topeka, Kansas, which is where we flew into last time on our little cross-country trip. And we're going to take a short little jog to the west to Manhattan, Kansas. So here we go. Let's take a look. See if everything's clear. Again, we're not flying in VR. We're just doing this one in 2D today. It's a short little trip. And let's check everything out. Brake is released. We got plenty of fuel in there. We're going to engage some flaps. We're already set up on our runway. We've already done our run-up and everything. Let's get this thing on the road. Oh, one thing I've got to check. I always forget to check my trim to make sure it's back. Yeah, it's back in the center position. I've had some problems with that. When you fly on autopilot, it adjusts that for you to keep you at the right altitude, and then next time you take off, it's way out of whack. So. Nice and straight down the runway, get up to about 60 plus knots. Rotation, we're in the air. Let's take our flaps off. We're going to make a left-hand turn out of the airport. Going to airport KMHK, which is the identifier for Manhattan, Kansas. And I wanted to get some altitude up here, and now we'll start lining up with our GPS over here. And we're about 1,300 feet. We'll try to level off here. And I did set up a new, I 3D printed my own little control panel and added some buttons and a USB encoder. So I've been playing with it. We're going to see if it's, I've been just playing with it, but we're going to actually put it to the test now. And we're going to engage our autopilot on GPS mode to take us and I'm hoping I hit the right button. Let's look down here and see. Yes, I did. We're in GPS mode. We should line up with our line there. Let me get my view back where it belongs. And we're also climbing quite a bit. Let's get this elevation down. I didn't want to be quite this high. We'll descend here about 500 feet. We'll get down to about 2,000 feet. And then I'll engage the altitude hold. I'm still climbing. What am I doing? I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at my GPS here. And this shouldn't take us too long. Let's does it say? 20 minutes? Not a bad little flight. I want to get right about 2,000 feet. Also, I'm going to cut this throttle back. Always forget to do that. We're running way too fast here. Okay, we'll get our altitude hold in. That'll work right there, because I can make some adjustments with the altitude button down here. Just go over here. And 20 feet per click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll give us a 100 feet drop. That should drop our altitude about 100 feet. We'll see where we land, and then we may go do another 100 feet, and that'll get us down to 2,000 feet. And it looks like we're on a great heading toward KMHK. If you want, we'll take a look outside the plane. It's going to be noisy, but now that we're on GPS and nav, and we got a nice heading hold here, and we got an altitude hold, let's jump outside and take a look at this plane. There we go as we're flying by. There. November 172 Sierra Papa in red and white. And it's a little loud out here. But here we are over Kansas. From Topeka, Kansas to Manhattan, Kansas. And the flight before we went from Lawrence, Kansas, which is KU, Kansas University, home of the Jayhawks, and now we're going to Manhattan, Kansas, which is K-State, home of the Wildcats. So we're all looking, we're 25 minutes out. Now again, I didn't fly this flight in VR. Just didn't have a lot of time today, and setting up the VR takes a little bit of time. I like to get it adjusted just right and do some settings that have to get the image stabilization done, and then you can't see a lot of the... It has its flaws, but it sure looks magnificent. But this is going to be a short flight. And a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some of this middle of this flight out. I'm going to enjoy the flight, but I'm going to cut some of this out so you don't have to sit through the whole thing. And I will get back. I'm going to cut some of this out right about here, and I'll get back with you when we get a little closer to Manhattan, Kansas. So we'll be right back in a bit. It's a little loud outside the plane, but there's another view of us. An external view of us coming over Kansas. A lot of flat, empty space, but it really is beautiful. Nice, nice countryside. Wide open spaces in Kansas, that's for sure. Flat and wide. Okay, we got a little ways to Topeka yet, but I thought I'd have a little fun here. You know, you just can't see around when you're not in VR like you can when you're, you know, you just can't see around when you're in 2D like you can in VR. But I want to take the autopilot off here let's take a look and make sure. Yep, it did disengage. And I thought we're ways out, but I thought let's do some sightseeing. Not that there's a whole lot to see, but let's get this plane down low, and we can resume our flight. But we've got plenty of fuel on board. I just thought we'd get down low and kind of buzz some of this Kansas flatland and see what we can see down here. And try some of our other controls out, which I've got to look at my cheat sheet and see what I remember how I programmed some of these. There we go. There's a thing called control wheel steering mode, which I can start up, which I can get myself in a certain attitude. And if I get nice and level flight, but getting a nice sweeping turn, it will stay consistent and we can make a nice big circle. So I thought I'd practice with this a little bit. So I saw something down here to the left. I guess it's not much, just like a farmer's field or something, but right there, control wheel steering mode. Let's see if that activated here. No, apparently not. No, it did not. So, control wheel steering mode. It's supposed to be this button here. Let's get this plane at the attitude that I want. There. Well, we're not in control wheel steering mode, so I definitely got something botched up here. Okay, now we are in control wheel steering. See if we can get altitude hold at the same time. Yeah, there we go. Nice and level flight. And we're just continue to make this turn here. So we can take a look out the window and see what's going on. I guess you got to hit that button twice. It's on the navigation, the autopilot. It's called control. There's buttons I've got set up for control wheel steering mode, which is you get it in the attitude you want it and push that button. If you're in the real aircraft, you push the button on the nav and it would hold that steering, and then you hit the altitude hold. It'll keep you at a constant altitude at that constant turn and make all the adjustments for you. Another one you've got is a heading hold that I've got set up, and that's for when you're not using the GPS. You can just put yourself on a heading, which we could do the same thing here, but since I have the GPS programmed for the Manhattan Airport, I just decided to let it take us that way. There we go, nice constant turn around, and when we come back around again, I will hit now. Let's see if that activated my nav. Yep, GPS steering mode, and now see, it brings us right out of that control wheel steering mode, and if you can see over on the right hand side, it's going to line ourselves up with the GPS heading toward Manhattan, Kansas. And let's see, is our altitude hold still holding? Yes, our altitude hold is still holding. Now, if you wonder why I have to zoom in when I look at the display, it's not so bad. Well, it is. It's just about as bad in the headset. And maybe it's because I'm an old man and I can't see very well. But I have to zoom in on it to see it. Especially right now, I'm looking at a screen, a monitor up in front of me that's a ways off. And that GPS is kind of small, so and the control instrument. So for me to get in there and see that little... See right now, that little thing that's running vertical there says GPSS, and that's letting me know. And then it says CWS for control word steering, but I have to get up real close to see that. But now we should be turning here pretty quickly, making a little bit of adjustment, and coming around to follow that line again. Compass heading should be changing here directly. Yep, here we go. We're starting to turn. That's autopilot engaging, and it takes us up to that line, and then once it gets to that line, it engages. Some of the other things I've found, I've just learned a lot of this on my own and watching other videos. See, I'm in the GPS mode up here where my mouse is. You can see that's GPS mode. And that's allowing us to do that. But if I turn it to nav hold, navigation, I would have to set it to heading hold, which would maintain this heading. And to do that, I have to put my navigation bug, and you can see right here, this little red, if you can see that, well, can't see it because the mouse isn't displaying that. On my heading indicator, there's this little red bug, and you've got to align that up with the direction you're heading. So I'll move that up here. Okay. That's exactly where it should be. Yes, it is. Okay. Now, what we can do is we can disengage our autopilot. I can change this over to nav, and I can go push this and go to heading hold. I hit the wrong one. So, let's disengage the autopilot. Make sure it disengaged. Yes, it did. It just says ready. Now I'm going to hit heading hold. There's heading hold. Now it should maintain this heading. Let's make sure I'm right. Yes, now it says heading hold. Then I'll hit altitude. And right now it's flying nice and straight and level. But that's because I just got it trimmed out right. But I can hit this here, and this will hold our altitude. So we can follow the GPS the way I've got it programmed, or you can just put a heading in, and it'll maintain that heading. So, some things I figured out, some things that Off-Grid Arcade has helped me with. That's where I used to get in trouble, was having this button set to nav or to GPS. If you want to do heading hold, you have to have it on nav. So, looks like we're still about, I don't know, 11 minutes out. So, I'll pause the recording and I'll keep flying, and we'll be back in a little bit. Just having a little fun trying out some different stuff and using my new controller, which is really nice. I've got heading hold, GPS nav, altitude hold, GPS off. I've even got a master switch off, and I had one for starting the plane, and the switch was bad that I got, so I got to buy a new micro switch to go on the box here. And then I'll be able to start and shut down with this button I've got, so I won't have to use the keyboard or the mouse. Okay, we'll go to pause, and we'll be back when we get a little closer. Okay, we're about 5.5 minutes out, 9 miles. Let's get our altitude down here. There we go. Getting a little closer. I want to make sure we get. I always seem to come in too steep. I want to be about 1,500 feet. Let's go down here and take this down a little bit more. We need to start looking for this airport. Okay, that airport is coming up on us pretty quick. So I'm going to disengage the autopilot. It should be right out there in front of us. But I want to swing wide and take a good look at it and get myself set up for a nice approach. Because we were headed west, and I know it's a north-south runway, I believe. I'm going to go around and see if we can kind of line ourselves up. It was trimmed out pretty good. I'm managing to hold my altitude, just creeping up a little bit. I want to get around this body of water. And if I'm looking at my GPS there, I'm a little ways out, but I think I'm starting to see the airport right there out my window. Oh, about a third of the way down my window there. I believe that's it out there. So we're on the right path here. Take one more look. Yep, that's it. That's it right out there. So I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to start turning here directly. Start bleeding off some altitude here. And making our turn here. Okay, there's our runway. Throttle back some. Might as well engage some flaps here. Get that nose back down. Leading off some airspeed, leading on some altitude. Let's see if we can nail it this time. Let me get that nose down. Manhattan, Kansas, Regional Airport. Awful steep. Hey, I think that was a success. That was my turn off, but I wasn't going to push it. I'm just tickled to land what seems like a good landing. Topeka, Kansas to Manhattan, Kansas. Still wish I could do something about those brakes. They're either all on or all off. Well, another leg of our journey. We started out in Harrisonville. We went to Harrisonville, Missouri. Took off to the west, went to Lawrence, Kansas. Then to Topeka, Kansas, and now Manhattan, Kansas. So let's get this thing parked. gonna break. Let's get an exterior view. Hope I'm at the right button here. Nope. There we go. Exterior view of the plane. Was a successful landing at Manhattan, Kansas. Now we'll do a playback. We'll do a playback and see what our landing actually looked like from outside the plane. We'll be right back. Okay. We did come in kind of steep. I don't know, we're looking pretty good. Coming in, get that nose up, just nose up a little bit. Set down on the mains and then let the front end drop. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Our landing in Manhattan, Kansas. Right down the runway. Okay, here we are back in the cockpit. Let's check my buttons out and see if my startup and shutdown is going to work. Get my flaps back up. Key off. Ignition off. Heck, let's even have a little fun and open the door. There we go. We can deplane. Now that we're out, we'll just take another quick look at the plane. There's the door open. Very happy with this flight. November 172 Sierra Papa. This is Greg signing off from a nice little flight. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye now.